This is it. This is the Exodus route. A second look. This is a second look at the Exodus route. The Sinai Peninsula. This is a peninsula situated between the Gulf of Aqaba on the east and the Gulf of Suez on the west, and it is bounded by the Mediterranean Sea to the north. It is in the shape of a triangle, and it is arid. It is a desert with mountainous terrain and sparsely populated. The Sinai Peninsula. It is said to be part of Egypt and a land bridge between Southwest Asia and Africa. The Sinai Peninsula. It has no rivers or lakes. It has several valleys where surface water forms during rainfall. The lack of rivers in the Sinai Peninsula. This causes problems for proponents of the Exodus route occurring in the Sinai Peninsula. The scriptures. It mentions 3 bodies of water that the Hebrews crossed in the Exodus to the Promised Land. There are many false claims made by scholars concerning the location of the Exodus route. All scholars agree that the Exodus route occurred in the Sinai Peninsula. All scholars agree that the Exodus route is started in Lower Egypt, then proceeded to the Sinai Peninsula, then continued to the Middle East, where scholars claim this is the location of Jerusalem. There is the claim that Jerusalem is in the Middle East and it sits on the tectonic plates of Africa, thereby making Jerusalem Northeast Africa. Many people have put forth claims about the boundary stones being located in the Sinai Peninsula, the altar of the golden calf being found in the Sinai Peninsula, the chariots of Egypt being found in the Gulf of Suez, while others say the chariots of Egypt were found in the Gulf of Aqaba, and some say the chariots of Egypt were found in the Red Sea. There are claims that the rock that Moses struck is located in the Sinai Peninsula. The 12 pillars of stone were supposedly found in the Sinai Peninsula. Mount Sinai is said to be located in the Sinai Peninsula, and many more claims that places the Sinai Peninsula as the location of the Exodus route. All of these claims are false, and the location of the Exodus route in the Sinai Peninsula, this is a false claim. The location of Goshen in Lower Egypt is false. The location of Jerusalem in the Middle East is false. The location of the chariots of Egypt in the Gulf of Suez or the Gulf of Aqaba is false. And the Red Sea, located next to the Sinai Peninsula, is false. The boundary stones, mass graves, golden calf altar, 12 pillars of stone, burnt rocks, and split rocks, all of these claims are false. The location of all these things, they are not in the Sinai Peninsula. The Caucasian stole all of black history and rewrote black history. He stole Israel from Namibia and placed Israel in the Middle East. Since the Caucasian put Israel in the Middle East, it became necessary that the Caucasian change the Exodus route from South Africa to the Sinai Peninsula. This theft and rewriting of black history, it was done in the 1800s AD. False locations of the Exodus route. There are mainly three false claims of scholars, placing the Exodus route in the Sinai Peninsula. These false claims, they lie in three different false locations, which are the following. The first false claim is the northern part of the Sinai Peninsula. This is called the Northern Sinai Route. The second false claim is the central part of the Sinai Peninsula, and this is called the Central Sinai Route. The third false claim, this is the southern part of the Sinai Peninsula called the Southern Sinai Route. The Northern Sinai Route, this put the Exodus at the northern part of the Sinai Peninsula. This route, it goes along the Mediterranean coast of the Sinai Peninsula, and it places Mount Sinai in the northern part of the Sinai Peninsula. The Central Sinai Route, this claim, it claims that the Israelites, they crossed the center of the Sinai Peninsula, and they crossed the Red Sea from the Weber Peninsula, and it claims that Mount Sinai is Jebel el-Lawz. The Southern Sinai Route, this claimed that the Israelites, they crossed the Red Sea in the southern part of the Sinai Peninsula, and they crossed at Lake Timsah, and it places Mount Sinai in the south, and it claims that Mount Sinai is Jebel Musa. Some proponents of the Exodus route being located in the Sinai Peninsula, they believe that the Red Sea crossing occurred at the Straits of Tiran, while others believe the crossing occurred at the Nuweiba Peninsula. These views of the Exodus route are all incorrect. They all are false, they're wrong, and they are contrary to what is written in Scripture. They are contrary to the geographical location of Egypt, particularly Upper Egypt. They are contrary to the geographical location of Goshen, and they are contrary to the geographical location of Shem's portion of land and Ham's portion of land. Noah and his family, they lived in Africa, and they did not go outside of Africa into the land of fallen angels. Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, they divided up the land of Africa and Africa only. The Exodus route, it occurred in Ham's portion of land and in Shem's portion of land. Scholars put the Exodus route in Ham and Shem's portion of land, and this is correct. But scholars have the wrong location of Ham's portion of land and the wrong location of Shem's portion of land. Scholars put Ham and Shem's portion of land in Southwest Asia and the Sinai Peninsula, and this is the wrong location of Ham and Shem's portion of land. Ham's inheritance. In Jubilees chapter 8 verse 22, this is where we find Ham's inheritance. It reads, "And for Ham came forth a second portion beyond the Gihon, towards the south, to the right of the garden. and it extends towards the south, and it extends to all the mountains of fire, and it extends towards the west to the sea of Atel, and it extends towards the west till it reaches the sea of Muak, that sea into which everything which is not destroyed descends. Jubilee says Ham's portion of land, it is beyond the Gihon River, towards the south, to the right of the garden. Jubilee goes on to say Ham's portion, it extends towards the south, to all the mountains of fire. Jubilee says Ham's portion of land is beyond the Gihon River, and to the right of the Garden of Eden. The Gihon River and the Garden of Eden, they are located in Africa. Genesis chapter 2 verse 13, it reads, "And the name of the second river is Gihon. The same is it that compasses the whole land of Ethiopia." Ethiopia is in Africa, and Africa only. Jubilees, it emphasizes the south and the right of the garden. Jubilees places emphasis on these two sites as the location of Ham's portion of land. This location is the southeast side of Africa, and within this location are several mountains of fire. Mountains of fire, they are volcanoes. In the southeast side of Africa, there are several volcanic mountains, and they are located in the Lesotho area, and today they are called the Drakensberg Mountains. Shem's inheritance. In Jubilees chapter 8 verse 15, it reads, "And it turns from here towards the south, towards the mouth of the great sea, on the shore of its waters, and it extends to the west of Ephraim, and it extends till it reaches the waters of the river Gihon, and to the south of the waters of Gihon, to the banks of this river." In verse 16 it reads, "And it extends towards the east, till it reaches the Garden of Eden, to the south thereof, and from the east of the whole land of Eden, and of the whole east, it turns to the east, and proceeds till it reaches the east of the mountain named Rapha, and it descends to the bank of the mouth of the river Tina." Ethiopia is located in Africa, and this means Ham and Shem's inheritance of land are located in Africa. Mount Abarim is located in Africa, in Namibia, in the tribe of Judah. The river Tina, it is located in South Africa. This means Shem's inheritance of land is located in Africa. This also means the Exodus route, it occurred in Africa, in South Africa. The Exodus route, it did not occur in Southwest Asia, in the Sinai Peninsula. The author of Jubilee says, "From the middle of the mountain range of Rapha, from the mouth of the water from the river Tina." This is the scriptural evidence and the geographical evidence that the Exodus route occurred in Africa, in South Africa, and it is the evidence that Ham and Shem's portion of land are in Africa. The significance of Ham and Shem's portion of land in light of the Exodus route is that Moses and the Hebrews, while they were slaves in Egypt, they were in the land of Ham. and they were in Ham's inheritance of land. Moses and the Hebrews, they left Egypt. They left the land of Ham and journeyed in the land of Shem. There are only 3 stations of the Exodus that are in Ham's portion of land, and they are Ramses, Succoth, and Pi-hahiroth. The other 37 stations of the Exodus route, they occur in the land of Shem. The location of Shem's inheritance, it encompasses the countries of Namibia, South Africa, and part of Botswana. Shem's inheritance of land, it is not outside of Africa. Ham's inheritance of land is not outside of Africa. And Jerusalem and Israel, they are in the inheritance of Shem. Goshen. Where is Goshen? And where is Upper Egypt? Why was Upper Egypt removed from the map? On all maps today, Upper Egypt has been removed and only Lower Egypt is shown. But why was Upper Egypt removed and who removed it? The removal of Upper Egypt from the map. This happened during Scramble for Africa, also known as the Berlin Conference. The Scramble for Africa is the Europeans' colonization and theft of Africa. This was a global effort where European nations got together to steal, rape, and pillage the land and people of Africa and subjugate them to harsh living conditions. Scramble for Africa was a global effort to steal all minerals and precious metals from Africa and to steal all medicinal plants from Africa. It was a global effort to steal all things in Africa, including ancient texts, documents, and history of Africa. The Caucasians divided up the land of Africa and drew new borders and renamed ancient borders, lands, rivers, and mountains. He did this by using Arabic language, German, Dutch, and French languages. One of the things that was stolen, hijacked, and renamed is the Exodus route. The Exodus. It occurred in South Africa, and the removal of the Exodus route from South Africa requires the removal of Upper Egypt from the map. The reason this is the case is because of the true location of Goshen. The land of Goshen is where the Hebrews lived for 430 years in Egypt, and Goshen, it is located in Upper Egypt. While living in Goshen, the black Hebrews, they built storage cities for the Pharaoh. They built Ramses and Pithom. The true location of Goshen is in Upper Egypt. The borders of Upper Egypt, they were extended by the Pharaoh Thutmose I. Thutmose, he extended the borders of Upper Egypt all the way to the Euphrates River, and the Euphrates River, it is located in Africa. Thutmose, he extended the borders. He went west, and he extended the borders of Upper Egypt all the way to the kingdom of Aram. The borders of Upper Egypt extended to Botswana and Namibia. And this is why the book of Jubilees in chapter 8, verse 13, it says, "The tongue which looks towards the south, for this sea, it is named the tongue of the Egyptian sea." Jubilees let us know that the upper part of Namibia, it was ruled and controlled by Egypt. Jubilees is referring to the Sea of Galilee, which is located in Namibia. The upper part of Namibia was the border of Upper Egypt. Pathros, spelled P-A-T-H-R-O-S. Pathros, this is the land of the Pathrusim. The Pathrusim, along with the Casluhim, they were the descendants of Mizraim. And this is according to the genealogies in Genesis. Pathrusim, they inhabited the land that is called Pathros. Pathros is Upper Egypt. The word Pathros, it comes from the Egyptian word Patu-Rasay, spelled P-T-R-S-Y, and this means the southern land. And the southern land, it is Upper Egypt. In the scriptures, Pathros, it is named as a region where Hebrew communities live. Pathros is Upper Egypt, and it is mentioned in scripture. It is mentioned in Ezekiel chapter 29 verse 14, Jeremiah chapter 44 verse 1, and in verse 15. The mentioning of Pathros in scripture is the internal evidence of scripture that the black Hebrews, they live in Upper Egypt, in Goshen. Another piece of evidence of the true location of Goshen in Upper Egypt are the many Hebrew houses that remain and are still visible today. The Hebrews, they were nomads, and while in Egypt, this was the first time they lived in houses in cities. The typical Hebrew house in Goshen was 1 to 6 rooms. It was a house made of mud and stone. The walls of the house, they were built of stone, and the roof, it consisted of wood beams, covered and layered with branches and smoothed down with clay. There are many Hebrew houses still visible today, and these houses are located in the land of Goshen in Botswana. There are no remains of Hebrew houses in Southwest Asia and the Sinai Peninsula. The scriptures, they give the evidence that the black Hebrews, they live in Goshen in Upper Egypt, and Upper Egypt is called Pathros. And Pathros, it is located in Africa, in Botswana. Pithom and Ramses. In Exodus chapter 1 verse 11, it reads, "Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses." Pithom and Ramses are still visible today, and they are located in Africa, in Botswana. Botswana is part of Goshen, where the black Hebrews lived. This is Pithom. It is a storage of water, a reservoir of water, cut up into many channels. The Hebrew word Pithom, this is the Ivri letters, PTM, Pei, Tav, and Mem. Pithom and Ramses, these are two Hebrew words that describe something that is in the earth. The Pei in Pithom, this refers to the many openings in the earth, and the Mem, this refers to the river and waters that will fill the many openings. The Tav, this refers to the channels being cut up into a cross shape, and these cross shapes, they form squares when put together. This is Pithom. Pithom is a water reserve, and this water reserve, it is cut up into channels, These are the channels, all of these squares. In the Hebrew word pithom, it is represented and it is characteristic of each channel. Pithom, this is the every letters, PTM, the pay, tav, and mem. And the pay, the pictograph of pay is that of a mouth. And the mouth, it forms somewhat of a right angle. And this right angle represents the channels that are cut up. All of these squares, they form right angles. And this is what the black Hebrews were looking at. After the pay is the tav. The pictograph of tav is that of a cross. And the black Hebrews, while they were building Pithom, they cut up the channels in the ground, and each channel, each right angle, formed the shape of a cross. And this is the tav. The mem, this is the water that will fill each open channel of Pithom. And this is located in Botswana. This is what the black Hebrews, they built. This is what they constructed for Pharaoh. A huge water reserve cut up into many channels. And that is the meaning of Pithom. And this is Ramses. Ramses is two huge openings in the ground. Ramses is a huge water reserve, but this water reserve, it is not cut up into channels like Pithom. Ramses, this is the every letter, the R and the IN, the MSS. The R is Resh, Ayin, Mem, Samak. And there are two Samak. Both of the Samaks refer to the two huge openings in the ground. Resh, this refers to the huge opening. The huge opening. Resh is a head, which means high. And high gives the meaning of distance, wideness. And this is the huge openings that the Hebrews built, constructed in the ground in Botswana. Two huge openings. The IN. The pictograph of the IN is an I, a circle with a dot in the middle. The circle is referencing the huge openings, both openings, two of them, two huge openings in the ground. And the Mem, this refers to the water that will fill both openings. The Samek, this is a pictograph of the Samek. And the Samek represents a thorn, but the shape of the Samek refers to the shape of Ramses. And as we see here, there's a line here. And from this line are branches. With the pictograph of Samek, there's a line and branches extends from this line in the middle. The shape of Samek is that of a thorn. There's a line in the middle, and from this line extends branches. And the shape of this thorn we see in Ramses. There's a line that runs vertical, and from the line, extending from the line, are branches going horizontal. And this is why the black Hebrews, they call these two huge openings, they use the every letters, Samek. When the black Hebrews left the Yam Suf, they made an encampment, and after that encampment, they came to Dafka. This is Dafka. This is a huge mountain, and this mountain, it is somewhat of a circular shape, and then there is a line attached to that mountain, attached to that circular shape. The Hebrew word Dafka. This is the every letters DPQ or DPK. The Q and the K, they are interchangeable. The DPQ refers to this mountain. This is the Hebrew word Dafka. This is the pictograph of each letter. The pictograph of the Dalet is a circle with a line. This is in a square, but Dafka is actually have a circular shape. And this circular shape, it is attached to a line. And this mountain, a circular shape attached to a line. The Pei, this is an oval shape. And this is referring to the shape of the mountain, somewhat circular. The Q, this is Kuf. And as we can see in the pictograph, Kuf shows a circle with a line attached to it. And looking at this mountain, there's a circle attached to a line. So each letter of Dafka, it represents and it assumes the shape of the mountain. And this is why the black Hebrews, through the Most High, call this mountain Dafka. This is a lush. This is a huge mountain. And there's a reason why the black Hebrews, through the Most High, call this mountain a lush. The every letters in a lush is the Aleph, Lamed, the Vav, and Shin. In this mountain, each letter is shown. Each letter assumes the shape of this mountain. The Aleph is seen in this mountain, in this structure, in this shape. This is the ox head. This is one horn, and this is another horn. This is the Aleph in Alush. The Aleph assumes the shape of this mountain. Next is the Lamed. The Lamed, it assumes the shape of this mountain. Lamed is a staff, and we can see a staff, a picture of a staff in the mountain. Next is the Vav. And we can see that this is a tent peg. We can see the tent peg assuming the shape of this mountain. This is the shape of this peg, represented and seen, clearly seen in the mountain. And the last letter is the Shin. Shin represents two front teeth. And we can see this in the mountain. Two front teeth. This is Shin. And this mountain. This is why the black Hebrews, through the Most High, call this mountain Alush. Alush does not exist in the Sinai Peninsula. There are no...
Mm-hmm.
This is Jerusalem. This is the ancient and authentic Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is, as scriptures say that it is. In Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 11, it says that Jerusalem and the cities of Judah are desolate and uninhabited. And that is what we're looking at here. Desolate and uninhabited. And according to Josephus, Jerusalem is level to the ground. That's what we see here. This is the real Jerusalem. Jerusalem has two mountain ranges that surround it. There's one mountain range along the northern wall of Jerusalem. This mountain range here. There's another mountain range on the eastern wall of Jerusalem. On this mountain range on the eastern wall, there's the Mount of Olives in this location here. This is Mount Scopus. And this is Mount Corruption. On the eastern wall of Jerusalem is the Kidron Valley. Kidron Valley runs along here. On the western and southern wall, it's the Hinnom Valley. And through the city is another valley called the Valley of the Cheesemongers. Runs through here. Jerusalem sits on two hills, on two mountains. And all of this is the first mountain, the first hill. This is the old Jerusalem during the time of David and Solomon. This is the second mountain. And this mountain is much bigger and broader than the first one. This piece here is what Josephus describes as a horn-shaped moon. This is called the Akra. This is the historical, the biblical and scriptural Jerusalem. Knowing the true location of Jerusalem is one piece of evidence that will give us the correct, true location of the Exodus route, because Jerusalem, being in the tribe of Judah, is part of the Promised Land. Jerusalem is not located in the Middle East, and that means the Exodus route did not occur outside of Africa. Another piece of evidence for the true location of the Exodus route is the inheritance of Ham and the inheritance of Shem, the portions of land allotted to these two men through Noah. Ham's portion of land, his inheritance, it is located in Africa. It is not located outside of Africa. Shem's portion of land, his inheritance, it is located in Africa. It is not located outside of Africa. Knowing the true location of Ham and Shem's portion of land will give us the correct location of the Exodus route.